Everyone, welcome to your talking newspaper for Friday, October 5th. I'm Howard.
And I'm Linda. Good morning.
Let's start with the society news for today. Tuesday, the strollers will be meeting on Tuesday 9th of October for a walk in Freshwater. The minibus will be leaving Millbrook House at 9 a.m. They'll meet for coffee at the end of the line at approximately 10:40 a.m. The walk will start in Stroud Road, walking along the Freshwater Way, also known as Coast Guard Lane. Lunch will follow afterwards at the Three Bishops in Bryston at 12:30 p.m. The Ryde swimming group will be swimming this coming Tuesday, 9th of October, at the Waterside Pool in Ryde. The swimming group has sole use of the pool during the session, and there are lifeguards in attendance. If you're interested in joining the group, please contact the Society to advise us of your swimming ability and for us to advise the Waterside Pool. The weekly coffee morning will be held at Millbrook House this Wednesday, the 10th of October, between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. The coffee mornings are not just for blind and partially sighted people. Anyone can come along and have a cup of coffee or tea, as well as a piece of cake. At the same time, we hold our weekly low vision drop-in event to allow you to view and try the low vision equipment we have at the Society without the need for an appointment. The book group will be meeting at Lord Louis Library on Wednesday 10th of October between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. We discuss the last month's book over tea and coffee and hand out the book for the next month. The books are available on CD or USB. Please contact Laura Jasper on 522205 for more information or email members@iwsb.org.uk. The Thursday Social Group are meeting on Thursday 11th of October at Millbrook House. The group meets from 10:30 till 2 p.m. You can knit or just have a chat, then later in the afternoon volunteers come in and read to the group from different topics.
On Friday, the Striders group will be meeting. Please note the change of week this month. The walk is circular, starting at Appleford Road, Chale, is approximately 5.5 miles long and will take nearly 3 hours. The minibus will leave Millbrook House at 10 a.m. Lunch will be at the Checkers at 1:15 p.m. Please contact the Society if you would like to join the Striders group. Are you a budding author? This is your chance to have your story published and read by a celebrity. This year's short story writing competition's theme is The Magic of Christmas. Entry forms available from Waterstones in Newport, Dress for Less in Newport, Millbrook House in Newport. For more information, please contact Chris Kane on 522205. Visit our website www.iwsb.org.uk. Site for Wight takes pleasure in inviting service users to a Site for Wight Members Forum on Monday the 15th of October from 11 noon till 12:30 p.m. This will be held at Millbrook House and will be followed by a technology discussion from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. Please send advance questions by the 10th of October 2018 and RSVP for either meeting by phone on 522205 or email enquiries@iwsb.org. Chris Kane, our Marketing, Communications and Fundraising Manager, did his monthly Insight for Wight slot on Vectis Radio with Maggie and Kelvin Curry on Tuesday the 2nd of October. You can listen to the interview later in the programme. The recent bucket collection at the Co-op in Freshwater raised £150.20. A big thank you to all those who helped and supported us on the day. By the way, the Striders group will be meeting on Friday the 19th of October. Please note the change of week this month.
Here's a list of known footway obstructions for works including scaffolding or hoarding. We're unable to include end dates as many are extended on a week-by-week basis. Also included are tables and chairs permits that have been issued in the past week. The Bay and Ventnor area, there are currently scaffolds at Premier Inn, 1-9 Esplanade, Sandown, 11A and 11B St John's Road, Sandown, the Toymaster, 103 High Street, Sandown, scaffold up in Albion Road. Sandown Library, 119 High Street, Sandown. 1 Melville Street, Sandown. 117 High Street, Sandown. Corner of Trinity Road and Madeira Road, Ventnor, Boniface Road and into Trinity Road, Ventnor. Clive Barber's Jewellers, High Street, Ventnor. Ivy Bank, Marlborough Road, Ventnor, with associated road closure. 7A Spring Hill, Ventnor. There are new scaffolds at Hurst's, 4 High Street, Ventnor, from 16th of October. There are currently hoardings at Premier Inn, 1 to 9 Esplanade, Sandown. There are currently skips at 32 Foreland Road, Bembridge.
And now the Cowes area. There are currently scaffolds at 93 High Street, Cowes, behind hoarding. Cowes Library, Beckford Road, Cowes, also up in West Hill Road. There's a cherry picker at Brunswick Court, Medina Road, Cowes. And there are currently hoardings at 93 High Street, Cowes, as well as skips at Ruby Cottage, Fellows Road, Cowes.
In the Newport area, there are currently scaffolds at Domino's, 41 St James Street, Newport, Jewson's, Trafalgar Road, Newport, Santander, 26 St James Street, Newport, scaffold also up around the corner in Pyle Street, Key Cottage, 12 Key Street, Newport, 44 Key Street, Newport, 20 St Thomas Square, Newport, 34 Albert Street, Newport, 50 New Street, Newport, 75 St James Street, Newport, 2 to 8 Carisbrooke Road, Newport. There's a cherry picker at Guildhall, High Street, Newport, in the taxi rank, and there are currently skips at 38 Highfield Road, Newport, and 12 Key Street, Newport.
And in the Ryde area, there are currently scaffolds at My Dentist, 10 to 11 Cross Street, Ryde, Boots, 170 High Street, Ryde, Hills Court, High Street and Newport Street, Ryde, 12 George Street, Ryde, 47 George Street, Ryde, 12A High Street, Ryde, 91 High Street, Ryde, 43 Nelson Street, Ryde. There are currently skips at 24 Station Road, Wootton. There are new skips at Woodlands, Ryde Road, Seaview from the 7th of November.
In the West Wight area, there are currently scaffolds at Jojo's, School Green Road, Freshwater, Duo, 86 Avenue Road, Freshwater, and there are currently skips at the Green, Lynch Lane, Colburn. This week's In Touch is about guide dog refusals and deaf-blind signing. Stories about guide dog owners being refused entry to businesses and taxis are depressingly common, but the MP, Alex Chalk, has been raising awareness about a discrepancy which sees taxi drivers who don't know the law being treated differently to the owners of bricks and mortar premises like restaurants. We hear from Dr. Amy Kavanagh about her campaign to urge people to ask before manhandling blind and visually impaired people who they think need help. And Emma Boswell tells us about a world record attempt with her employees, Sense and Mazars, to create the biggest half-hour long deaf-blind manual signing lesson. It will be presented by Peter Wight and produced by Kevin Call.
And now we have news from the county press. The headline this week is Police Open Fire. Baton rounds fired during incident at Leafy, Winford. Police opened fire during an armed standoff in Winford in the early hours of Thursday morning. Witnesses described hearing police shout, "Get down, get down," followed by loud bangs. Armed officers fired baton rounds, which are less lethal plastic bullets, in order to arrest a 45-year-old braiding man. An imitation firearm was recovered from the scene. A police spokesman said on Thursday, "We were called at 1:26 a.m. to a domestic incident at Forest Way. Upon arrival, officers assessed the threat, harm and risk and utilised baton rounds, attenuating energy projectiles, to detain a 45-year-old man. The 45-year-old man from Brading was arrested on suspicion of a firearms offence and a driving offence and remains in custody at this time." Speaking to the county press, eyewitness Melissa Roselle of Woods Drive said, I woke up and I could hear lots of shouts and lots of bangs. To start with, I thought it was fireworks. It was scary. I heard police say, get down, and I saw a man drop to the ground. I heard police say, you are under arrest for possession of a firearm. Then I heard a guy say, it's just a BB gun. The ambulance checked the guy over and he seemed to be okay. She added, I have lived here about 7 years. It's so quiet, such a lovely area. We never have any trouble. My house backs onto the flat where it happened. There were lots of police cars, a police van and 1 ambulance. Police were searching a car and then towed it away. They were looking round the whole area with torches looking for something. The police were going in and out of the flat all night. It went on for a good couple of hours. Another Winford resident, Hannah Jacobs of Park Way, said, I can't believe something like that could happen around here. It's always been such a safe area. Kids are always playing outside round here. Now, I'm a bit worried.
An horrendous assault in Shanklin that left a teenager with multiple fractures to the face and head resulted in jail for one of the attackers. Danny Stretch, 27, of Woodhill Close Ride, was given 16 months for the vicious attack in June 2017 at Green Lane, Shanklin. Also involved in the attack was Declan Clark, 18, of Badgers Close, Wroxall, but he was spared jail because he was a youth at the time and he handed himself into police 2 days after. Stretch, who threw the first punch, initially denied the assault to police. However, both pleaded guilty in court to inflicting grievous bodily harm. Prosecuting Rose Burns told the Isle of Wight Crown Court Callum Finnis, who was 17 at the time of the assault, was riding his bicycle home when he was stopped by Stretch and Clark. The pair repeatedly punched the teenager in a sustained and unprovoked attack, and then Stretch took Mr. Finnis's bicycle, the court heard. Mr. Finnis flagged down a car that took him home and his mother found him gushing blood. An ambulance was called, and after being seen at St Mary's Hospital, Mr. Finnis was transferred to Queen Alexandra Hospital, Portsmouth, for specialist treatment. Scans revealed multiple fractures in Mr. Finnis's face, forehead, eye socket and nose. In a victim impact statement read out in court, Mr. Finnis said for 3 to 4 weeks he couldn't see properly and he suffered with nosebleeds for a long time. He also had to take 2 months off work and lost out on earnings. Stretch and Clark both admitted to being drunk when they attacked Mr. Finnis. At the time of the attack, Stretch was subject to a court order for a previous conviction. Defending Stretch, Nicola Talbot Hadley said alcohol was the underlying cause of his criminal offending and he was working to address that. He is horrified by what has happened, she said. Sentencing the pair, Recorder Jane Rowley said, this was an unprovoked assault on a vulnerable youth who was alone at night. It was a horrendous assault that left him with significant injuries. Mr. Finnis's mother was in shock when she saw her son at the door with blood gushing from his face. Clark, I give you credit for facing up to the horror of what you did and handing yourself in to police. Stretch, you are in a very different position. You have a propensity for violence and you initially tried to run from the truth. Recorder Rowley sentenced Stretch to 16 months jail and Clark 10 months, suspended for 18 months.
The IW best in country for recycling of plastics. Islanders are with the best in the country when it comes to recycling plastic. According to a special report by the BBC, the IW Council and partner Amy are among only a handful of UK authorities that recycle most types of plastics collected from the household. This has resulted in 55% of all island household waste being recycled in the 2017-18 financial year, and since February 2016, nearly 4,100 tonnes of plastic collected from homes has been recycled. Cabinet member for Waste, Councillor Michael Merwill, said, "We can be rightly proud because we're exceeding the national target of 50% of waste being recycled by 2020. In fact, we're already recycling 55%, which was originally our target for 2020. We're also tackling other issues, especially targeting plastic polluting our seas, which is something I'm very passionate about. On the island, you can recycle most types of everyday plastic, such as food packaging, drinks bottles, milk cartons, yoghurt pots, tubs and cleaning products, as long as they are empty, in your green recycling bin or green gull sack. Items such as cling film or dirty plastic packaging or food trays cannot be recycled and should be placed in your black bin or gull sack. Hard plastics such as children's toys, outdoor furniture or window frames and PVC products should be taken to the recycling centres at Lynnbottom, Newport or Afton Marsh, Freshwater. A more detailed A to Z list of what items can go in your recycling bin can be found at www.iwight.com/waste.
Organisers of Island Con have moved to reassure fans after a number of high-profile guests pulled out. They include Lord of the Rings actor Sean Astin, Sopranos and Matrix star Joe Pantoliano, the American Pie cast, and Kevin Smith's View Askew favourites Jason Mewes, Jay of Jay and Silent Bob fame, and Brian O'Halloran Clarks. View Askew's Ming Chen said on Facebook he was truly saddened they wouldn't be attending the comic book and fantasy convention, but their flights had not been booked and agreements not kept. From my own personal experience, this points to financial instability, mismanagement on the part of the con. I would theorise the convention overextended itself by inviting far more guests than they could handle financially. That was probably combined with poor ticket sales, which put them further in a financial hole, he said. I should have been wary when a number of guests dropped out 3 weeks ago, but I was hoping it was an isolated incident. Apparently it wasn't, and they dropped out for the same reasons we did. In response, Island Con organisers apologised and admitted they'd been unable to meet the criteria to ensure the guests could attend. There have been complications along the way. On occasions, things are beyond our control. However, on this occasion, there were requirements we couldn't fulfil, they said. This doesn't make up for the disappointment being felt right now, but refunds have been made or are in the process of being made. With all of this said, the event is still going strong and we are working hard to deliver Island Con. Island Con's Ben Belton said, "Bigger and better than ever, we promise to give you a weekend you won't forget."
Teenager stole because he was hungry. Stealing food because he was hungry and had no money landed a teenager in court. Akert London, 19, of Melville Street, Sandown, admitted stealing food from Iceland in Ryde on August the 13th this year. His admission put him in breach of a conditional discharge imposed in May for vehicle interference and going equipped for theft. The court heard the theft was captured on CCTV, and when interviewed by police, London said he had no money for food. For London, Oscar Vincent said his client was having considerable problems with state benefits. Island magistrates revoked the original conditional discharge and put in place a fresh one for 18 months. London was also told to pay a surcharge of £20 and costs of £45.
A teenager airlifted to Southampton after he was found unconscious may have swallowed prescription drugs stolen from a chemist. Police have launched a burglary investigation after medication was reported stolen from Boots in Bembridge High Street on Friday, September 29th and Tuesday, October 2nd. The teenage boy and another person were subsequently hospitalised. Police are investigating whether they may have consumed the stolen drugs. As part of the investigation, 2 people have been arrested in connection with the burglary. An Isle of Wight police spokesperson said a 27-year-old man and a 15-year-old boy have been arrested on suspicion of burglary as part of our inquiries and released from custody without charge but remain under investigation. We're carrying out inquiries to establish if 2 concern for welfare reports where 2 people have been taken to hospital for treatment are linked to this investigation. One of these reports relates to an address on Garden Way in Newport. Both people remain in hospital in a stable condition. Ambulance crews were called to Garden Way at around 8 a.m. on Wednesday, where a teenage boy was unconscious. He was taken to St Mary's Hospital, Newport, then airlifted to Southampton General Hospital for further treatment.
Ahoy, me hearties! Captain Jack Sparrow drops in. Landlubbers and old salts alike were welcomed to Sight for Wight's low vision drop-in day. Hosted at the charity's Millbrook House offices in Newport, the event adopted a piratical theme to coincide with International Talk Like a Pirate Day. Visitors met the charity's member services manager, Laura Jasper, and exhibitors from Dolphin, Professional Vision Services, Orcam, Macular Society, and Age UK's digital inclusion tutor. People could enjoy pieces of 8 in the form of chocolate treats from the treasure chest, or pieces of orange to ward off the scurvy. More than 30 islanders attended to learn more about the latest in low-tech and high-tech aids and gadgets designed to assist those affected by sight loss. Sight for Wight hosts a low vision drop-in coffee morning every Wednesday between 10 a.m. and noon.
We are still open for business. That was the message from businesses along the Military Road this week as long-awaited resurfacing work started. Businesses including Isle of Wight Pearl, Grange Farm, the Dinosaur Farm and White Mouse Inn say they're open as normal while the work is carried out. The beginning half of October is set to disrupt the road east of Bryston. Access can be gained to all businesses like the Dinosaur Farm, which is open Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays, as well as the whole of October half term. Follow the diversion routes away from the coast road inland via Bryston, from the west through to Shorwell and on to Chale, or vice versa from the east. At the end of the month, including October half term, the disruption will affect Isle of Wight Pearl and Grange Farm. Follow diversions west from Bryston. The diversion route will take people through Bryston Village to Brook and vice versa. New Road Bryston will be the access route back onto the coastal road and to businesses concerned. For information, visit www.islandroads.com.
Ofsted slams bullying at inadequate college. Christ the King College has been slammed by Ofsted as inadequate and a place where students are unsafe and bullying is rife. Inspectors said the school, which had been rated good since it opened in 2008, now lacked effective leadership, had unplanned and underdeveloped teaching, and did not handle the personal development and welfare of students effectively. The report noted a worrying number of pupils who had experienced bullying and believed nothing was done about it even after staff had been alerted. Some form of bullying were described as casual racism. It also said it was disappointing a small minority of pupils still expressed racist, sexist and homophobic attitudes despite being taught about other religions and historical injustices. Key problems included attendance and behaviour, where a large minority of students consistently disrupted learning and overall attendance rates were declining. The safeguarding of pupils was also described as inadequate. Inspectors said levels of supervision on the lower college site did not guarantee the safety of pupils at break and lunch times. Safety checks on pupils in placements had not been undertaken, and despite mandatory training, there was not a culture where safeguarding dominates everyone's thinking. More positive aspects of the report included the standard of teaching in English, described as ambitious, well-planned and supported by accurate assessment. Teaching in the sixth form was better than the rest of the school, and inspectors recognised a significant minority of pupils received effective support or pastoral care. Interim principal at the school, Matthew Quinn, said, "Everyone at Christ the King College is absolutely committed to ensuring this school improves over the coming months, and we are confident Ofsted will see an enormous change when they next visit. We completely accept this is a very disappointing report, but it is one the leadership team, teaching staff and governors have taken on board, and we are working tremendously hard to address all the issues that have been highlighted. In my view, Christ the King College remains a good school in many, many ways. It's a school with good GCSE and A-level results, and a school pupils are proud to attend. The Ofsted report said Mr Quinn understood the scale of necessary changes and had a realistic knowledge of what was needed to improve the school. The Isle of Wight Council Cabinet Member for Children's Services, Councillor Paul Brading, said he was deeply disappointed about the findings, but he remained confident the school would be rated good again. The interim principal and new chair of governors, who had only been in post for around 8 weeks when the inspection took place, are already doing an impressive job of turning the school around, so the Ofsted rating must be seen in this context.
Being caught with a rucksack containing cannabis, £160, scales and a mobile phone used for drug deals landed an Isle of Wight window cleaner in court. Daniel Steadman, 22, of Great Preston Road Ride, admitted possession of cannabis with intent to supply when he appeared before the Isle of Wight Crown Court on Monday. The court heard police were in the area of the Newport chalk pits on June the 15th when they saw Steadman with a young woman. He was carrying a rucksack from which officers detected a strong smell of cannabis, said Tony Bailey, prosecuting. The phone contained text messages from people asking to buy amounts of cannabis. In interviews, Steadman gave a simply ridiculous account, saying he'd found the cannabis and he didn't supply the drug. He told police he was an uptight person and cannabis calmed him down, added Mr Bailey. For Steadman, Oscar Vincent said Steadman's enterprise had been in its infancy. He added Steadman was a man of previous good character. He said what was particularly galling for him was his girlfriend was present and she wasn't aware of his activity, and it caused her a huge amount of distress and alarm when police officers attended. He panicked and came up with a ridiculous account. Steadman was jailed for 8 months, suspended for 18 months, and ordered to complete 100 hours of unpaid work.
The prospect of 2 more famous island pubs closing their doors has provoked the campaign for Real Ale, CAMRA, to claim only a suicidal billionaire would take over a new lease of an Enterprise Inn's establishment. Newport's oldest pub, the Castle Inn, and the King's Head, Yarmouth, will close at the end of their leases in the next couple of months unless new tenants are found. This follows the recent closure of the New Inn, Shelfleet, and Pew View Cows, which shut in April and has still not reopened. IW Camera is currently organising the successful beer and bus weekend which takes place next week. And Treasurer Ken Matthews has sent a strongly worded letter to Paul Gill, Regional Manager of EI Publican Partnership, saying, "You must be devastated the EI empire is disintegrating around your ears. Someone, somewhere, must realise that good pubs like the Castle, Newport, Pier View Cows, New Inn Shelfleet and King's Head Yarmouth cannot sustain the exorbitant rent along with the inflated price of car scales against the free trade. We all know that as far as rents are concerned, as long as a pub is empty, the cost to the group will never be recovered, because nobody but a suicidal billionaire would take on an EI lease at the same rent as the outgoing incumbent. Can the businessmen not see the writing on the wall? House of Fraser, Debenhams, Mothercare and a raft of restaurants, even the mighty 3 food outlets, Tesco, Sainsbury and Asda, are balking against high rents and renegotiating leases. Speaking later, Ken added, "The pubs may reopen, and this is not the end, but if EI continue not to listen, it will be the beginning of the end, and the tenanted houses will be lost to the free house and the conglomerated." A spokesperson for EI Publican Partnership said, "We can confirm the King's Head Yarmouth and the Castle Inn Newport are currently on the market due to the expiry of their agreements. We'd like to reassure the local communities that these pubs remain open, and if anyone is interested in taking on these fantastic opportunities in the future or would like further information, please call our recruitment hotline on 03333 200036. The earliest record of the castle opening was 1555, and King Charles was said to drink there under armed guard while he was held captive at Carisbrooke Castle.
3 generations of the family of the Reverend Freddie Ralph visited Christchurch, Totland Bay, to dedicate a new stained glass window to his memory. Mr. Ralph was the vicar from 1960 to 1974 and was chaplain to the Needles Lighthouse. Dr. Ian Young and his wife Sylvia, daughter of Mr. Ralph, who commissioned the window, came over from Marlborough, Wiltshire, with his 3 grandchildren and 5 out of 6 of his great-grandchildren to attend the dedication ceremony led by the current vicar, the Reverend James Cook. The family also cut the turf of a new walkway intended to improve accessibility to the church's facilities. The window was designed and made by Peter Berry, who came with the family to the service. The choice of him as the artist was serendipitous, because he already had connections with Lucy Bell, lay preacher at Christchurch. When I was a child, my parents used to look after a young midwife, Lucy, who came to recover from her busy job on her days off, said Peter. She's been a friend of my parents all my life and had heard I'd become a stained glass artist. It was Lucy who gave the address at the service, which was based on the theme of light. Mrs. Young was invited to light the candle of dedication and told the congregation the family had wanted to commemorate her father's work as vicar and lighthouse chaplain, as well as his love of the West Wight. We're so grateful to Peter Berry. It's a wonderful design and we're very proud. The design incorporates Mr. Ralph's love of the West Wight and his spiritual calling. At the base are the words Fiat Lux, let there be light, and that light is depicted travelling up the design through the layers of Allen Bay sands. Colours are brighter as they rise, reflecting also the Victorian pastime of collecting and layering the sands. There are also tiny details and references to Marconi.
Celebrity spotting has been a popular autumn activity on the island over the last fortnight. Star of Die Hard with a Vengeance, Justice League and Batman vs Superman, Cowes-born actor Jeremy Irons met with old school friends at the first ever reunion for former pupils from Little Appley Prep School. One of the island's 3 Oscar winners, Mr. Irons, attended the event with his dog Smudge at the old school site, now Appley Manor Hotel, where 54 ex-students spent the afternoon reminiscing over old photographs and memorabilia. Among the gathering was also Anthony Mitchison, whose father was joint headmaster at the school, Robert Eldridge, son of Jim Eldridge of Eldridge's Solicitors, and Colin Boswell, who owns the garlic farm. The oldest among the group, Noel Dobbs, attended the school in the 1940s. Attendees said it was fitting the reunion was held at the old school site and agreed to another gathering in a couple of years. TV presenter and actress Michelle Collins, best known for her role as Cindy Beale in EastEnders, Cheryl Baker, a member of Eurovision-winning Bucks Fizz, and Tim Vincent from Blue Peter were staying at Eversley Hotel in Ventnor. Izzy Stryton, aged 12, is used to having celebrities stay in her family's hotel. She said it was nice to meet someone from Blue Peter in the old days and that Tim was very friendly and asked her about school. The group were also spotted at Carisbrooke Castle along with comedian Bobby Davro. It is thought they are all on the island to film for a Channel 5 celebrity reality show. Monday's episode of The Undateables featured one of the show's best-loved couples visiting the island. Ray and Christine met on the reality TV show and have now been a couple for 6 months. Having appeared on a number of series of the hit Channel 4 dating show, which aims to find love for people with disabilities, Ray, 55, from London, found love with Christine. Their island holiday included a trip to Black Gang Chine and a walk along Ryde Beach.
A burglar who broke into an Isle of Wight fish shop appeared before a Crown Court judge on Monday. Brian Mitchell, 42 of Union Street, Ryde, admitted breaking into Captain Stan's fish shop when he appeared by video link at the Isle of Wight Crown Court. Mitchell also admitted burgling a cafe in Ryde and 2 other burglary offences in the town, as well as a charge of attempted burglary. All the offences took place in July. The case was adjourned for sentencing to October 11th and Mitchell was remanded in custody. As previously reported, Captain Stan's is set to close following the devastating break-in. In July, the county press reported how the owners of the shop arrived to find their door broken, freezers left open, product all over the floor, and charity money stolen. Ruth Curtis, one of the shop's owners, said at the time they'd not got the heart to carry on. She said, "It's heartbreaking and soul-destroying."
Bryston is Isle of Wight's best-kept village. Bryston was crowned the Isle of Wight's best-kept village of the year at an annual awards ceremony staged in Newport. The West Wight village also scooped the best-kept extra-large village accolade, sponsored by the Isle of Wight County Press. This year, the best-kept village awards are celebrating their golden anniversary. Last Thursday's event, held at the Island Innovation Sixth Form campus, celebrated all that was good about village life on the island and was attended by many who make a valuable contribution to their communities. Chair of the Best Kept Village Association, Anne Evans, said the high standard in Bryston had been maintained even after the judges visited. She said, "If you are to be the best kept village, it is the way you should present yourself all year round." As well as the Best Kept Village trophy presented by the island's High Sheriff, Gioa Minghella Giddens, Bryston was also presented with a new bench and a plaque to be fixed to the bench as part of the Golden Anniversary celebrations. John Cironi, chairman of Bryston Parish Council, said local people took great pride in their communities. "We have such a committed community who do all the work. They look after the village, keeping it tidy."
Trading Standards have warned of a new email scam relating to TV licence payments. Fair Trading Officer Sally Ash said scammers are using official-looking logos telling users to access their PayPal accounts to receive a credit. This is a scam, and no legitimate company would contact you in this way.
The brother of Kieran May Cunningham, who died aged 26 last month, has spoken of the talented, funny and chilled-out person, friend and brother he was. Known as the island's best skateboarder, Kieran's body was found on Thursday, 20th of September at Newport Military Cemetery. "Everyone knew him as a skateboarder," said Declan. "He won every competition he entered and was just a typical skateboarder, really. He loved music, sitting in the skate park playing his guitar." Kieran was born in Scotland as the second youngest of 6. After some time in and out of foster care, Kieran and his 5 siblings, Declan, Janice, Joanna, Ashley and Kevin, were adopted on the Isle of Wight when he was 3. He grew up in Alveston with mum Sandra May and dad Larry Cunningham, and attended Arreton and Broadley primary schools and Lake Middle School. At 11, Kieran and his family travelled the world. "We visited this famous skate park in New Zealand and went to a huge skating competition, and we were told we couldn't skate," said Declan. "Kieran jumped the fence, had his little session, got rugby tackled by security and chucked out, but he was so proud that he had his go in the big park. That's what he was really like. A go-getter. If someone told him he couldn't do something, he'd be like, 'I can do that.'" Kieran started at Cowes High before moving to the Isle of Wight College to do a fitness course. He then studied drums at Platform 1. He loved playing the drums, and he'd take his snare drum out with him because that's the only part he could carry easily. Someone would bring their guitar and he would love to sit there jamming away, playing a little beat. Kieran had a son named Marshall and became a barman, mixologist and cook, working in restaurants and bars from the Melville Hotel to Subway. Declan said Kieran often drank more than he sold and would party with all the customers. The Saturday after Kieran's death, Declan, Kevin, Janice and Joanna held a tribute to him at Newport Skate Park. More than 200 people joined them at the park throughout the evening, and large artwork sporting Kieran's initials was sprayed on the ramp. He was such a big part of everyone's lives. He's the common factor in all of this. He was the centre of his own hub. Kieran's soft spot for dogs meant everyone brought their dogs to the tribute, as everyone's canine friend was Kieran's dog too. The family are hosting a memorial for Kieran using money raised from a GoFundMe page set up by a family friend. Declan said, It will really help with everything. My mum can't believe it, how much money is coming in. She's getting a lot of help from it. You don't imagine a community will pull together like that." Declan said Kieran, although having his demons and troubles, was making the steps to help himself. He did call out for help, and he went on a course to help him with his emotions and how to deal with things. There were a few times when he thought he had hit rock bottom. Declan urged everyone who is worrying about someone to speak out and talk to them. You can talk to the Samaritans on 116 123.
A man who had a near-fatal injury while on holiday on the Isle of Wight is trying to track down the Good Samaritans who helped him. David Owens, 66, of Ruislip, West London, was standing on a rock on Bembridge Beach to take a photograph when the rock broke and he fell, hitting his head. Mr. Owens said, "I didn't pass out but do not remember hitting the rock. The tide was coming in and the beach was deserted. My wife Karen screamed for help and a few people from the nearby cafe on the seafront, the Crab and Lobster, came to help. They didn't want to move me. At that point they didn't know if I'd damaged my back, but they had to get me off the beach as the tide was coming in. I waited for 3 hours for the ambulance and they asked the lifeguard's assistance. There was a doctor there and some other helpers. I managed to contact 4 of the people who helped, but I need to contact 2 other people who managed to get ice and help the swelling on the back of my head go down while we waited for the ambulance and lifeguards. The man and woman were together and had just moved back to England from France. Since I came out of hospital, we've seen the other people that helped us and shown our gratitude. Please can everybody that reads this share it. I'm recovering now, but I still have a lump on my head, and worse still, my wife has flashbacks of the accident. The accident happened on August 15th at about 11:30 a.m. Well, that concludes the first part of your talking newspaper for today, so it's goodbye, good wishes from Howard.
And it's goodbye from Linda for now.
Good morning, everybody. This is Lester.
And this is Pauline.
And we start with the readers' letters. I've decided to leave my body to science, and this is from Anne Thorpe in Newport. How I agree with Alan Marriott that we should plan for our own death and after. The last time I moved house, in 2013, and therefore had the services of a solicitor, my family and I amended and clarified my will, and while my 2 sons are my executors, my 2 daughters will be legally responsible for other post-mortem duties on my behalf. The most important duty is that I have donated my body after death and its organs to Southampton General Hospital. It has a copy of the signed and witnessed document, and even if my old 83-year-old organs are no use to donate, at least medical students can work on my remains for a year or so. After which the hospital cremates the leftovers and the ashes are returned to the family. Until the government gets round to making organ donation at death routine, unless one has opted out, this is a useful and economical way to dispose of an old bag of bones. Plus, altruistically, donating any bits and bobs which will be life-saving to another.
A letter from Nigel Golding, a bride. Give us the housing which suits population projection. The rush on the part of the planners to cover our island with houses seems to be based partly on projections pulled magically out of some second-rate magician's hat, and partly on a passion for assuaging the desires of any carpet-bagging developers. Fortunately, we have an Office for National Statistics, ONS, whose September report gives detailed projections of household growth by local authority area, which undermine the basis for much of the current development on the island. Between 2016 and 2041, they estimate a decline in households under the age of 55 from 28,000 to 23,000, and a rise from 37,000 to 48,000 in the number of households over the age of 54, with a fall in the size of the average household from 2.16 to 2. If the statisticians at the ONS are correct, we should be building mainly smaller units, suitable for smaller households, both cheaper to live in and easier to manage. The migration of older households into the smaller units should free up sufficient family-sized homes to meet the reduced demand anticipated. Smaller units on smaller plots would also reduce the spread of urban areas such as Ryde into the irreplaceable countryside.
Sepsis dangers from Mavis Bishop in Ryde. Regarding the article, no more booking ahead to see GPs thanks to staff shortages, and that was in the county press on the 14th, 09/18. In pain, at first I thought I could pay to see a doctor or phone 111 for advice. Finally, I was able to talk to a doctor on the phone. This state of affairs could result in the very sick and elderly slipping through the net. I need to stress the dangers of sepsis. The Daily Mail is currently campaigning relentlessly to warn the public. I think there should be leaflets on sepsis in doctors' waiting rooms.
Poor service, name and address supplied but withheld. Times are better than we thought, or are they? Early in September we contacted 4 island companies, 3 for a conservatory, 1 for blinds, all of whom with a few days came to measure up and assured us of a prompt response with a quotation for the work. On Monday this week, having had no response, we phoned each of them to see what had happened to their promised quotes. One claimed to have sent it to the wrong address and emailed it, with a total for the work with no breakdown of how they had arrived at the figure. The others promised to look into it and get back to us that day. We're still waiting. One made a follow-up appointment and to date has neither turned up for it nor apologised for non-appearance. If we are not of interest to you, just tell us and we will not have to waste our and your time. We want to spend the money to have work done and would prefer to use island traders. We've wasted 3 weeks getting nowhere and have to start all over again in our search for a company to provide the appropriate services. We like where we live and would prefer not to have to relocate to gain the home configuration we require.
Let's get on with improving our harbour. From John Jeffries, Steve Lim, Graham Bridges, Christopher Offer, Peter Gray and John Rolfe, East Wight Cowes residents. Bembridge Harbour is a unique and special asset for the communities of Bembridge and St Helens, as well as the island and the tourist industry. The future prosperity of the harbour can only be achieved with a commitment to a significant long-term investment programme managed by a professional, experienced team supported by effective marketing campaigns. The present owners bought BHJC Limited, Bembridge Harbour Authority, in 2011. The business was effectively bankrupt with debts of over £1.2 million. Over the past few years, they have invested more than £1 million to improve the facilities, which has encouraged more visitors. The owners have confirmed on several occasions they fully comply with the 1963 Harbour Act. The business is now a viable operation, but the cash flow will not support the additional investment now required for the planned improvements. The original planning application, number P/00637/14, which forms an essential part of the Strategic Harbour Regeneration Investment Plans, was submitted on May the 27th, 2014. After a long and detailed investigation, with advice from District Valuer and the Council's legal advisers, including a planning barrister, the detailed proposals were submitted to the Isle of Wight Council Planning Committee twice, on December the 1st, 2015 and in December 2017. At both meetings, a recommendation for approval was given. However, this item on the Planning Committee agenda has been delayed for nearly 3 years by frequent interventions from the Bembridge Harbour Trust. They have also blocked the agreement on wording for the Lawful Development Certificate LDC relating to houseboats. As part of the regeneration plans, the owners have committed to provide free sewage treatment for those houseboats still discharging into the harbour, an essential step to improve the environment and water quality in the harbour where young children are sailing and swimming. According to the BHT website, the principal aim of the Trust was a means of delivering the harbour into community-led control. This is now history. BHT has added that they are determined to fully support the incumbent, the new owners, in any actions perceived as being for the good of the harbour. This does not seem to be the case. Surely it's time to move on and allow the planning committee to make a firm commitment on the planning agreement without any further delay or interference. The owners will then be held to account for the regeneration plans for the harbour, for the benefit of local businesses, the communities, and to make it a first choice for boats visiting the island from the mainland or from across the channel.
And a letter from Charles Beecham of Carisbrooke. Twinned with Milton Keynes? To be honest, if it were not so true and so painfully apt, the recent Milton Keynes by the Sea quote would actually be funny. None can deny the level of urban sprawl and commercial unit developments in the past 20 years or so have been utterly ridiculous for an island of this size. I would suggest the Isle of Wight Twinning Committee, if we have one, get on the case and give the Milton Keynes New Town Council, whatever it's called now, an urgent shout. There is, of course, in all seriousness, a huge difference in our situation in terms of planning credibility. Milton Keynes was a proper government-approved planned situation which destroyed vast tracts of Grade 1 farmland, engulfed Bletchley, actually I recall a pleasant little town, and wiped off the map some charming villages. Our development, on the other hand, has been against public opinion, piecemeal, opportunistic by landlords and developers, and wholly without any logic. Bearing in mind all factors such as jobs, immigration levels, available services and infrastructure, and at the end of it all, the overriding import to the island of the tourist sector and its pound, of course the concept of green lung preservation, wildlife, quality of life for existing residents, or even the political word conservation, all flew out of the window in the face of clear planning ineptitude and financial greed. Because we have nothing to fight these pockets of development, we are indeed now faced with that awful Milton Keynes twinning prospect. It isn't a joke. As if that were not bad enough, what do I see in the same issue as Mr. Challoner's letter? Details of yet another failed fight by residents in Ryde, where you report 140 more rabbit hutch houses may well get nodded through approval. What an outrage against any logic of democracy, with the same number of formal objections lodged, binned and ignored. I'm also incredulous at the County Press headline Tunnel Vision. Surely that should be Tunnel Threat Renewed. We, the island people, voted in a referendum that we most emphatically did not want a fixed link. Remember that? Therefore, there should be no further ongoing consideration of such a disastrous idea. No more consortiums with finance, no more Isle of Wight Council cooperation or connivance with even discussions about such a disaster. No fixed link. The decision was made, we stay an island, and that should be the end of it. If democracy has failed to stop the massive urban sprawl, then it must exert itself, please, to stop a tunnel in its tracks now.
And this one is entitled Bingo Blasphemy, that's blasphemy in inverted commas, and it's from Miss Eileen Fallick, Newport. I was surprised and upset at reading the article in My View by Catherine James entitled Dearly Beloved, Eyes Down, Let Us Play, in which she was aiming to bring down a Christian service of worship to the level of a game of bingo. There will have been many committed Christians reading this article for whom a service worship is a special and sacred time. When it came to mocking the communion, which Christians observe following our Lord's command, do this in remembrance of me, and then going on to mention a crown not of thorns, referring to Christ's crucifixion, I felt it was nothing short of blasphemy. Many people read the county press, which is to give us the local news, together with other items of interest and entertainment. I do not think the paper should be used for people to ridicule what others are doing, particularly in the areas of Christian belief. I was extremely surprised the editor agreed to something like this being published, as it would have been offensive to many and would not have given the county press a very good name. And the editors put a footnote to this. The article was intended as a light-hearted look at bingo, which for some has almost taken the place of religion. Apologies to anyone who was offended.
Now we're looking back, and we start with 100 years ago, October the 5th, 1918. The mayors of Newport and Ryde received a telegram from the Chancellor of the Exchequer thanking them for the island's war effort. It read, At the close of the first year's campaign for national war bonds, with its magnificent results, I should like to take the opportunity to thank you for your efforts. I'm sure I can rely on your continued help during the new campaign. And there was deep and widespread grief was caused by the death of Captain Collingwood Bertram at the age of 43. The sad news came when the captain died after an operation at the county hospital. Captain Collingwood Bertram, coming from one of the best-known sporting and farming stocks, was a fine example of island traditions.
And 75 years ago, October the 2nd, 1943, a young soldier was killed in a tragic car crash in Wootton. Private Sidney Clifford Pascal, 18, was serving in an infantry regiment when knocked down at Kite Hill. He was taken to the Sloop Inn, where he passed away. And police officer L. Rossiner, who Islanders remembered as the Island police swimming champion is in pre-war days, left the Isle of Wight to serve as a flying officer in North Africa. In a letter back home he wrote, "I managed to get into Tunis the other day and found a swimming gala in progress. I entered the diving and got 3rd place."
And 50 years ago, on September 28th, 1968, Ryde Town Council agreed to bring a complaint about hovercraft noise to the notice of hover travel. The council said they would ask hover travel whether experiments they were to carry out to cut noise down had proved fruitful. Seafront residents had described the sound as an awful din. And the second phase of a dream conceived 5 years prior came true when the Medina Training Centre was opened. The £42,000 facility provided training and employment facilities for disabled adults and children and formed an extension to Medina House School. It was opened by the Marquess of Milford Haven OBE.
And 25 years ago, October the 1st, 1993, just days after determined Binstead residents won a battle to protect meadowland from residential development, a mechanical digger went on the site. Residents of the adjoining Millgrove estate looked on in horror as heavy plant cut swathes through the land despite Medina planners rejecting the development. And the Duchess of Kent chatted to pupils in the new £1 million Broadleys Primary School before officially opening the building. The Duchess confessed to having a soft spot for the island and said, "It's so beautiful and I have many happy memories of coming here as a child. My ancestors had a home at Appledurcombe House in Wroxall."
And finally, 10 years ago, October 2008, more than 400 litres of diesel was spilt on roads between Brading and Shanklin after the fuel tanks of a lorry and bus were ruptured. The bus, recently bought by Southern Vectors, and the lorry both suffered a damaged fuel tank while negotiating roadworks in Brading. Around 10 other vehicles were involved in collisions as they lost control on the spilt fuel. And the high cost of ferry fares are like the bars of a prison for those wishing to travel to the mainland, said a supporter of the campaign to get fair trading to check ferry services. Whiteling said it feared the credit crunch, rising oil prices and the cost of maintaining an ageing fleet would increase financial pressure.
And we move on to Wight memories. Freshwater's Scout Pioneer. The second Chief Scout, succeeding Robert Baden-Powell, was born on the Isle of Wight. The army officer was the godson of Alfred Lord Tennyson, was born in Freshwater and went on to live a varied life, holding many important offices. Arthur Herbert Tennyson, Somers Cox, the 6th Baron Somers, was born on March the 20th, 1887, to Herbert Haldane and Blanche Margaret Standish. He had an elder sister, Verena, who was 1 year older than him. Arthur had a very troubled early life. His father died aged 32 in 1884, and his mother died on the same day 1 year later. After his mother's death, when he was only 8 years old, he was sent to Mulgrave Castle and boarded there. Aged 12, he succeeded the title from his uncle and became Lord Somers. It was during his school life and later in the army that Lord Somers befriended Baden-Powell and developed his lifelong interest in scouting. He was educated at Mulgrave Castle, Charterhouse and New College, Oxford. He joined the 1st Life Guards but cut short his army career to farm in Canada. With the outbreak of the war in 1914, he returned to rejoin his regiment and was subsequently attached to the Tank Corps. He retired from the army in 1924, having become actively interested in scouting 2 years previously. Somers was appointed Governor of Victoria in 1926 in succession to Lord Stradbroke. Aged 39, he was, and remains, one of the youngest holders of the office. It was said he had charm and a natural gaiety which won him popularity. Warm and generous, he had a genuine interest in people as well as a high sense of duty and leadership, a shrewd and successful governor. A Freemason, he was initiated in the House Brigade Lodge 18 years before he arrived in Victoria, Australia, and served as Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge and Victoria between 1927 and 1932. Following the expiry of Lord Stonehaven's term as Governor-General in October 1930, Somers, as the longest-serving state governor, was called upon to act as administrator of the Commonwealth until Sir Isaac took office in January 1931. In 1926, Lord Somers was appointed Victoria State Chief Scout. He led 8,000 British Scouts in the World Jamboree in Holland in 1937. During the following winter, he travelled the country visiting Scouts and talking at Scout conferences. He also undertook the task of putting the movement on a sound financial footing with the launching of a National Scout Fund in 1938. When war was declared, Lord Somers gave an immediate lead in support of the National Service. He recommended that Scouts wear their uniforms and set the example when, for the first time in history, Scout uniforms was seen in the House of Lords. He was elected Chief Scout on January the 29th, 1941, following the death of Baden-Powell, and travelled long distances to attend rallies and conferences despite failing health. He died on July the 14th, 1944. Lord Somers' early life on the island started in Freshwater. He was brought up in the Briery, Middleton, Freshwater. The Briery still stands today, although it is not the original one built in 1973 that Lord Somers lived in.
Unfortunately, in the early 1930s, the house's roof caught fire and was seriously damaged. The first fire team on the scene was the Freshwater Rover Scouts Fire Brigade. The Rover Scouts had an arrangement with Newport Fire Station, who lent them old equipment, that they would attend fires from their headquarters, the Black Hut at School Green, and try to stem the fire until the firefighters from Newport could reach the scene. Despite a shortage of water, the local lads contained the fire to a central chimney stack and saved many valuable items from inside the building. According to a newspaper report, the local fire brigade from Newport had difficulty getting to the scene due to a heavy load of men and equipment. They also had difficulty negotiating the steep hill at Carisbrooke. By the time they arrived on the scene, flames had allegedly reached a height of 30 feet. It was also remembered by the locals that the hose pipes had so many holes in them that very little water actually reached the scene of the fire, although the gardens had a refreshing shower. Damage was estimated at £7,000, enough to purchase about 20 normal family houses at the time. The house was rebuilt and was much smaller than the original and far less grand. In 1938, a Fire Brigade Act came into being, compelling all parish councils over a certain size to provide a suitable fire brigade. A new Ford V6 with a Drysdale pump was purchased by Freshwater and Totland parish councils, and the Rover Scouts were offered the job of manning the appliance, but the parish council insisted that as it was such a valuable machine, a councillor should be officer in charge. Mr. Rawson was the chosen man, but made it clear that it was in his name only and he would like the Scouts to carry on as usual. For the first time, the Scouts were in uniform and riding a real fire engine. The new station was at Kingsbridge, where the Tennyson ambulance is now housed. For a call-out, a fire siren was mounted on the roof and each fireman's house was fitted with a bell. They were operated from the local manual telephone exchange. The siren was cut out at 11 p.m. by a time switch at the fire station, and only the bells sounded.
And now the first of two articles in My View section, and this is by Matthew Chatfield. I have never eaten a McDonald's meal. I've never eaten a McDonald's. Bizarre though this may sound in the 21st century, I've never even been in a McDonald's restaurant. I say this with no particular pride or zeal. I'm not judging you harshly if you enjoy an Egg McMuffin or fillet of fish. Drive through with impunity, but I shan't stop you. It started by accident. I was born before McDonald's even existed in this country and grew up in places free from it, mostly here on the island. The year I turned 18, McDonald's opened in Gosport, not far from where I was then living. It was promoted by that horrific clown mascot, Ronald McDonald, which I didn't like the look of. Like the rebellious teenager I was, I wouldn't go with my peers and try the exciting new American hamburgers. Instead, I ate rapidly cooling fish and chips from the wrapper, huddled in a drizzly seafront shelter with the meagre comfort of my own angst. The habit stuck, and I never went. Some years later, when I first got a job, I found myself sorely tested, stuck in Paris at night. Some colleagues and I needed food. I was the only French speaker, and the solo available option was McDonald's. Would I break my McDuck for such humanitarian reason? To the irritation of my travelling companions, and perhaps to my own surprise, I would not. I realised I'd somehow managed to avoid going to one of the most popular restaurant chains in the world for the whole of my life to date, and I wasn't going to start then. Food was obtained by charades. I remained sulking outside. Thus it has been ever since. By the time my own children were old enough, the island had McDonald's of its own, and the kids happily went there, first for children's parties and later to spend their own money. They seemed none the worse for it, and learnt to taunt me with tales of incredible bargains and delectable treats to be had beneath the golden arches. Still, I resisted, and I do to this day. I suspect the loser in this irrational veto has been me. Based on some childish whim, I've managed to make a lifelong policy of avoiding McDonald's. I can't say if I like it or don't like it. I've never even tried. That zany, cartoonish oaf, Ronald McDonald, is long gone, thank goodness, and the venue is now marketed as some kind of artisan hipster paradise, all rough wood surfaces and barrist's aprons. There's a 24 drive-through McDonald's within 5 minutes of my house. I could go there right now, but I don't. After 30 years, I suppose I feel there might be some Damonesque conversion or dramatic intervention before I pop my McCherry. But if McDonald's quietly invited me in and muttered a brief apology about that damned clown, I suspect that would do the trick. The wait would be over, and I'd be just the same as the rest of you.
And now from Jake Harrison, is it time to dump the dumpers? Fly tipping is an unpleasant and highly selfish activity which sadly is on the rise. Litter louts are making a mess of the island, with up to 300 plus incidents occurring each year. So what can possibly be done? How about heavier fines or public naming and shaming perhaps? Or what about making the offender eat the contents of the rubbish bag in front of a gathering crowd while beating him or her mercilessly with a rotten cucumber? It's time to dump the dumpers. The Isle of Wight is a walker's haven blessed with miles and miles of flexuous footpaths, contrasting landscapes and beautiful beaches. So why is it being ruined? The reason I ask is because recently I've read about and even seen for myself the illegal dumping of waste. Yes, sad-looking sofas, bags of barny rubble, and the ugly old kettle your dear old gran brought you, and your partner for Christmas. The endless list seems to go on. Sometimes that rubbish includes dangerous substances, such as asbestos or other weird-smelling chemicals that would make your dog as high as a kite if it decided to poke its nose in the drum. Now I'm going to ask the obvious question. Do you believe island fly tipping is getting worse? Well, I certainly think so. Fly tipping spoils the island's countryside, makes a mess of the streets, and ultimately leaves those who pay taxes, e.g. almost everybody, with the cost of clearing it all up. It adds to pollution, attracts Roger the Rat and other types of vermin. Why is it happening? Most of the people who fly tip usually cannot be bothered to visit the local tip, either because they're lazy, impatient, or just an all-round moron. Our reduced tip opening hours partly the cause, not that that is an excuse. Now, pardon me while I get all fogyish, but I'm suggesting the problem starts with the youth of today. Think about it for a second. When was the last time you saw a pensioner carelessly toss a Big Mac onto the pavement? So what can be done? Well, stopping the fly tippers can be a bit tricky. Report it to the council? Going to the authorities appears to be making little impact, with statistics showing fly tipping is on the rise for the third straight year. Taking a picture of any culprit and sending it to the county press may be an option. It recently published a story about the car park at Highdown near Totland being despoiled with the contents of a child's bedroom that appear to contain incriminating envelopes with names and addresses on it. Whoops! I do hope you agree more needs to be done to prevent the illegal dumping of waste, because people who fly tip usually have just enough brain cells to count on one hand and the morals of an alley cat. However, if you don't and are thinking, what a rubbish column, Jake, just please make sure you screw my piece up nicely and put it in the bin rather than carelessly throwing it onto the floor.
Behind the News by David Newell. A tour of the island's prison reveals some interesting artefacts. Behind the walls of HMPIW. In its time, Parkhurst Prison, now part of HMP Isle of Wight, has been home to some of Britain's most notorious criminals. East End gangsters, the infamous Ronnie and Reggie Cray, were inmates, as was Moore's murderer Ian Brady and convicted armed robber turned journalist John McVigar, memorably played in a film by Who lead singer Roger McDaltrey. In its time, the jail has seen its fair share of escapes and escape attempts, including one by McVicar himself, who decided to make a lifelike papier-mâché head to fool the guards he was still in his bed while he made good his escape. The actual head is on display in the prisoner's museum. Today, the jail has a different set of problems. Well-documented difficulties in recruitment of prison officers, violence and intimidation towards staff, plus the constant difficulties posed by prisoners attempting to smuggle in drugs and other contraband, such as miniaturised mobile phones, make for a challenging environment for both staff and the more than 1,000 prisoners who call the jail home. Yet, last Saturday, staff families were given a rare opportunity to see what life was like inside the jail and were offered a fascinating tour of the jail, giving a unique insight into the history of the prison and how it operates today. The jail's beginnings date back to 1778, when it was founded as a military hospital and a children's asylum. In 1838, it had become a prison for teenagers, ideally aged 16 and under, although some were also aged in their late teens.
During the tour, visitors were given the chance to see the terrible conditions boys were forced to endure if they broke simple rules such as talking in line or stealing a crust of bread. The boys were thrown into a tiny cell in the pitch dark for up to 2 days while chained to the wall. The prison was supposed to provide the boys with a course of moral, religious and industrial training, together with corrective discipline, both to prepare them for emigration as both free emigrants and convicts. A total of almost 1,500 boys between the ages of 12 and 18 were sent to various colonies in Australia and New Zealand. Victoria and Tasmania also received Parkhurst boys, who were always referred to apprentices and not convicts. Prison Governor Captain George Hall employed boys to make bricks to build the C and M block wings. An Act of Parliament, the Parkhurst Act, was named after the jail, which was responsible for transporting the boys. Parkhurst became a proper prison in 1863, holding young male prisoners. Almost from its beginning as a jail for young offenders, it was subjected to fierce criticism from the public, politicians and press for its harsh regime, which initially included the use of leg irons. An area of the jail was used as a working female prison for a short period of time. This included the last time a serving monarch visited a working prison in the shape of Queen Victoria. When she arrived, the female prisoners all turned their back on her, and a prison mutiny followed for several days, and male guards from Parkhurst Boys' Prison were brought in to quell the riot. Fast forward to the 1960s, and in 1968 the prison became one of the first dispersal prisons for maximum security prisoners. In 1995, 3 prisoners escaped from the jail. They were later recaptured, but the security breach led to Parkhurst becoming a Category B prison. Finally, in 2008, the jail amalgamated with the other 2 island prisons, Albany and the now closed Camp Hill, forming HMPIW. As well as extensive gardens tended by the prisoners, inmates also grow food on huge allotments, which is later eaten by them and staff. Staff can even purchase the produce. In one of the central areas lies the prison's museum, which houses a set of impressive artefacts, including an original documentation relating to the craze, which, if sold on the open market, would be priceless. Other things in the museum, but the myth prisoners are stupid, with meticulously made electric plug sockets and weapons created out of everyday objects, including a truly terrifying knuckle duster confiscated by the guards, fashioned from dozens of vape coils. HMPIW Governor Dougie Graham, 48, has worked at the prison for nearly 10 years. The former army officer became governor in February 2017. He said the purpose of the open day is to say thank you to the family and friends, but also giving them an opportunity to see what our working environment is like. Family and friends provide prison staff with a lot of support.
And now some information about what's on the Isle of Wight this week. First of all, the Isle of Wight Cancer Support Centre, offering free non-clinical support for anyone living with cancer, holds a drop-in session at the Green Room, Salisbury Gardens, Ventnor, on Wednesday from 10 a.m. till noon.
The Rotary Club of West Wight is holding a charity sale at Freshwater Memorial Hall on Saturday, October the 27th, and is looking for donations of bric-a-brac and small furniture which can be collected. You can phone 07792 245 839 for more details.
Come and join a friendly, informal singing group, Sounds Lively, and learn music by ear, singing folk, gospel and songs from around the world. No additions. The group meets every Wednesday, 12:30 at the Unitarian Church, High Street, Newport. It's £5 per session. Subsidies available.
The Isle of Wight branch of the Historical Association will be holding a talk on The Governor, the Pirates and the Lost Treasure, a case of misplaced loyalties, at the Riverside Centre, Newport, and that's on this coming Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Visitors are welcome for a donation of £3.
The Isle of Wight Café Scientifique will host a talk by Colin Stevenson, the Education Officer at Crocodiles of the World, who will be talking about the amazing physiology of crocodiles. The talk will be held on Monday at 7 p.m. in the Regency Suite above the Conservative Club in Sandown. All welcome, and it's a £3 entry.
Now get ready for beer and buses. Hold tight please for the 5th annual Isle of Wight Classic Buses Beer and Walks weekend. Based on the success of last year's event, more than 12,000 people are expected to join in the fun on Saturday and Sunday, October 13th and 14th, travelling on a network of 18 special routes and with a choice of the island's top pubs to pop into. One of the best things about the Isle of Wight Classic Buses Beer and Walks weekend is that it's completely free to travel on all the classic buses. However, this event still has operating costs to be covered, including insurance, advertising and programme printing among them. By far the best way to support the event and make it easier to find your way around is to buy a programme. They're just £7 and contain details of all the pubs, town maps, routes and the bus and train timetables, an essential guide to the weekend. Programmes are available from all the participating pubs, the Guildhall Tourist Information Centre in Newport or the County Press Office in Pyle Street, Newport.
And the National Trust Association meets at 2:15 on Wednesday at the Riverside Centre, Newport, for a talk by Patrick Keane on Through the Amazing Rainforest to Find the King George Falls, and all are welcome to this.
How to make your garden sing this autumn. Renowned author, broadcaster, lecturer and gardening correspondent to The Independent, Anna Pavord, will visit the island later this month. Anna will present a lecture entitled Seasonal Planting to the Isle of Wight Garden Plant Group at the Parish Centre, Town Lane, Newport on October the 18th at 7:30pm. As Anna says, it is not difficult to make a garden sing in spring, but Anna takes each season and presents a star cast for each. Admission to the autumn lecture is £5, payable on the door, and there will be a raffle and refreshments. All are welcome to attend.
And this is what's on at the Shanklin Theatre, and the box office telephone number is 01983 868 000. And on Friday the 3rd of October at 7:30, the Take That Experience. And on the 8th of October, Monday, 7:30, Russian State Opera presents Carmen. And on 7:45, on Tuesday, the 9th of October, you've got Arsenal Legends in Conversation. Doesn't tell you who the legends are. And then on Saturday, the 13th of October, 7:30pm, is Andy Fairweather Low. And then on Wednesday, the 17th of October, to Saturday, the 20th of October, is The Nightmare Room.
Discover 100 million years of wildlife along the 5-mile curve of Sandown Bay. Discovery Bay is back with a full day of nature and science on offer for Biology and Earth Science Week 2018. This free event takes place from 10am to 4pm on Sunday, October 14th. Discovery Bay is all about revealing the extraordinary world and lifelong inspiration to be found in the natural resource of Sandown Bay. With the help of ecologists, scientists, artists, biologists and just plain enthusiasts, the Bay Coastal Community Team has been running a full calendar. Become a bayologist and explore the bay wildlife from ammonites to cuttlefish. Try out powerful microscopes, sieve for life in the soil, fire up the mighty bug hoover. The central meeting point is at Dinosaur Isle, Sandown. And the White Satin Ladies Barbershop Chorus meets on Thursdays from 7:30pm to 10pm at Carisbrooke Church Hall High Street, Carisbrooke. New members are welcome. If you're interested, you can ring Jackie on 077 652 65656.
And now some more news from this week's County Press. National recognition for station. Vectis Radio has been recognised at a national awards ceremony. The local community radio station, which broadcasts from Newport, gained a bronze award for its 4Ps training project at the National Community Radio Awards held in Sheffield. The awards were set up to celebrate community radio and all the hard work and time the volunteers involved put into their stations, shows and communities. The awards are open to those involved with any Ofcom licensed community radio station. Vectis Radio was licensed in November 2017. It was shortlisted from more than 360 entries from over 75 stations and was one of the 5 in the community development project of this year's category. Station manager Ian Max said, "To get any sort of award for what we do, having only been eligible for less than a year, is a testament to the hard work that has been put in by our team. It was always my dream to make a positive change in people's lives using radio. And not only have we done that, but we have been recognised nationally for it.
Toby, the bearded collie, has started a new school term helping children develop their reading ability and confidence. He's also visited a group of home-taught children who meet at Rookley Village Hall each week to participate in various activities. Once a month they have a guest speaker, and for September they chose Toby, who is nearly 15 years old, and his owner, Tricia Owen, who has had him since he was an 8-week-old puppy. Tricia spoke about the benefits of dogs going into schools to help the children with their reading. Once the show dog, Toby has found new life in retirement through the Read 2 dog scheme and visits Ride Academy each week. Tricia said, as usual, put Toby with a group of children and point a camera at him and he's in his element. Toby and the children really enjoyed themselves. I'd like to increase awareness of the benefits of a reading dog in schools.
And have a great day, and it's goodbye from Leicester.
And it's goodbye from Pauline.
This is the BBC.
This is In Touch, the magazine programme for people like me who are blind or partially sighted. I'm Peter Wight. Thanks for downloading this week's edition. Good evening. Tonight, the MP who wants a change in the law to give greater protection against discrimination to guide dog owners. And the marathon designed to give greater understanding about deaf-blindness and a place in the Guinness Book of Records. But first, the charity Guide Dogs says that over the period of a year, almost half of owners have been denied access to services because they were using a dog. And by no means all of them would have had the confidence to react like Leicester student Charles Block did as he tried to get into a taxi.
Me, I don't take dog.
By law, you can't deny us.
It means if about my religion.
It might be, but it's against the Disability Act of 1995.
Let me call it the office first.
Well, they'll tell you exactly the same thing.
Let me call it the office.
Go on then.
I don't hear what you say. Are you going to send another car?
No, I don't want another car. I want this car.
Okay, hello. He said he doesn't want any other car. Okay, so you want to cancel, yeah?
No, I want this car.
Yeah, cancel it.
No.
Yeah, okay.
If you drive away, I'll sue you.
Yeah, I'm ready to go to the...
Oh, go on then. Good luck.
Well, Charles did report it to the local authority. The driver was fined and acknowledged that he hadn't understood the law, which says drivers can't refuse to take a guide dog in their cab unless they have a dispensation on medical grounds. But a recent incident in Cheltenham has alerted local MP Alex Chalk to the limitations of the law to protect guide dog owners in other circumstances. He told me what happened.
Well, it was a constituency issue. So a constituent of mine who has a guide dog found himself trying to go and have a curry in Cheltenham and was refused access and found that predictably upsetting and dehumanising. And it ended up on social media and there was a huge amount of consternation. But when he came to speak to me about it, I was very concerned, as was he, that the options for people who'd suffered that kind of clear breach of the Equality Act were really not there in terms of seeking assistance with enforcement. And that's why the more I looked into it, the more I saw that there was a problem with the Act, and I decided to take the issue up.
And what you found was a distinction between what happens as far as, say, for example, a taxi driver refusing admission and someone who's being refused admission to premises. Can you just explain what that is?
Exactly right. So there's a distinction in the Act between wheeled premises, if you like a taxi, and bricks and mortar premises. So under Section 168 of the Equality Act, if you are unlawfully refused access to a taxi, well, that's a matter that is punishable by a fine of up to £1,000 and the police can get involved. But if you're refused access to a bricks and mortar premises, a cafe or a restaurant, your options are really this. One, do nothing. Two, you could go and sort of unleash the gates of hell, as it were, on social media and see what happens and lose all control of the situation. But your other only option is to go and seek a civil remedy, which in plain English means going through the whole sort of hassle and inconvenience and strain of launching your own civil proceedings down at Gloucester County Court or whatever, at cost to you personally, and potentially to get a civil remedy of a fine. Now, that's not a very appealing option for individuals, and I don't think they should have to bear that entire burden, and it seemed inconsistent and wrong to me.
Part of your concern, I think, was about the reaction to this and what actually happened in this case.
Yes, it did end up on social media, and there was a real storm about it, and the individual curry house owner themselves offered a fulsome apology, a sincere apology, which was accepted. And one of the really important reasons why we need to change the law is so that individuals who have been wronged can have a proper process-driven procedure for resolving this issue, rather than having potentially entirely disproportionate responses on social media, which is not what my constituent wanted at all.
Relatively few taxi drivers who've discriminated against people with guide dogs face prosecution. Isn't it the case that powers aren't any good if you don't have the will to use them?
Well, that's a really important point. Of course, that's right. So you've got to ensure that there are sufficient resources. But the situation at the moment is one step ahead of that, which is that even if there was the will and the resources, there isn't the legal power to do so. So in other words, neither the local authority nor indeed the police could go and have a word with that restaurateur and say, well, look, this is a breach of the Equality Act. I might not take proceedings on this occasion, first time or whatever, words of advice. But they can't do that now. Whereas, of course, they can do it to a taxi driver. And that strikes me as a very odd distinction, because it's no less unpleasant or less dehumanising if you're refused access to a curry house, for example.
You mentioned councils there. This would mean them taking on more enforcement work. We know their budgets are dominated by social care commitments and very squeezed. Do you think their departments can really take on more?
I think the point is that actually these sorts of complaints in somewhere like Cheltenham, where I live and where I represent, are not routine weekly occurrences. So we're not suggesting that this is going to sort of open the floodgates, but this ought to be relatively straightforward, simple and proportionate investigations. Was someone refused access with a guide dog or an assistance dog? And was that refusal lawful? Again, that ought to be fairly straightforward and not terribly resource intensive. What action is going to be taken and what record is going to be kept? So I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to ask authorities to do. And after all, they still are licensing authorities, and they've got to have all the information required on whether to renew that licence, and that must include whether they've been good on equalities.
But to do this, there will need to be a change of powers. This surely will need a change to the Equality Act. How likely are you to get that, do you think?
Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, we'll see, but the response from the minister in the debate, Justin Tomlinson, who's, his personal commitment to these issues as a former disability minister is unquestioned, and he was incredibly helpful and apparently sort of grateful for this having been raised. I'm cautiously optimistic that that we can achieve an improvement, and I'm getting assistance from guide dogs, the charities, on how we work up a proposal for government, and as I say, I'm cautiously optimistic that we can change the law.
Alex Chalk, MP. Let us know what you think and indeed what's worked for you in situations like this. But the protection Dr. Amy Kavanagh is looking for is from people whose intentions are good, but who she thinks are just going about helping her in the wrong way. Offering appropriate assistance is something we often discuss on In Touch, but why did Dr. Kavanagh think she needed to go to the lengths of a Twitter campaign to get her message across?
I was born with sight loss. I've been registered partially sighted since I was a child. I only started using a Wight cane in the last year, and it was quite a shock to me how much I get pushed and pulled and grabbed, and it became problematic. It was, causing me anxiety on my commute. It all started with me essentially just kind of saying on social media, this keeps happening to me, and then a lot of people responded.
Give some examples of the kind of assistance that you've had in the last year that you don't find helpful.
Well, I don't really class it as assistance, if I'm honest, Peter. I think that being grabbed or pushed without warning is never helpful. Tuesday, I was stepping onto a train carriage. I was using my cane to perceive the depth. depth to judge the step that I had to take. And out of nowhere, a woman grabbed both of my arms and pulled me into the carriage. Now, at my local station, there's a step of about 30 centimetres from platform into the train. That could have caused me a serious injury. And I said to her, please don't do that. I can manage by myself. If you want to help me, please ask. I think anyone would find it a bit unnerving.
Let's do the constructive thing here. What's the perfect way to behave? How do you want your help to be offered?
Well, it's kind of what the hashtag says. It's just ask, don't grab. Ideally, introduce yourself. Hello, my name is Amy. Can I offer you any assistance today? And then really importantly, listen to that response. Because I'm sure we've all experienced people getting to that first step and then suddenly you've been dragged across the road when actually you wanted to go into the shop. And remember, say goodbye so you're not left talking to a wall.
Yeah. You know, of course, that a lot of people will say, well, I was just trying to help. I meant well, I meant to help. And you'll also know that a lot of the help we get is constructive and good.
Yeah, any, really constructive, positive help is always welcome. I try when it's, safe and I'm able to do so to just calmly explain to someone, oh, I know you were trying to help me there, but actually what you did was frightening. I'm a bit disorientated now. In future, just check in with someone, just say, hi, quickly, can I help you?
I'm interested in this because, we've often raised this issue on In Touch of inappropriate help. I have to say that, just from my own experience, we don't seem to have made much impact on it over the past 50 years. People are still doing it. Are we expecting the impossible, in a way, of people who, let's face it, don't see that many blind people around?
It is a difficult campaign to really get out there. I think really the major win for me would be to get something as part of the national curriculum, better disability awareness. But I think this is an issue that we all face and we have got to keep being vocal about it.
But is there a danger, perhaps, of doing more harm than good? Making people feel, well, if that's your attitude, that's the last blind person I'll give help to. I can promise you I'll get emails and letters like that after this broadcast.
I'm sure, but I think really people who genuinely do want to help, who have really good intentions, whenever I have been able to really calmly and politely say, oh, actually, please don't pull me across the road, can I take your arm? People learn something, people want to help. And actually, if people aren't willing to listen, then maybe we don't want them grabbing us.
Dr. Amy Kavanagh. And the charity Sense is also looking for more understanding, but it's gone about things in a rather different way. Sense represents people with the dual disabilities of sight and hearing loss. And in London earlier today, they mounted an attempt at a world record. The idea, the biggest ever half-hour lesson in how many deafblind people communicate. Emma Boswell is deafblind herself and she's leading the signing marathon. She has Usher's syndrome, one of the frequent causes of dual disability. Well, before the event and using tactile signing with her male interpreter, she explained how people communicate using touch.
The first and main method is deafblind manual. 26 hand movements signifying the alphabet and being able to spell communication onto somebody's hand. There are other types of tactile communication as well, including hands-on sign language, whereby the deafblind person traces the hands of the person using BSL, British Sign Language. Other thing to mention, Peter, is something called tedema as well, which is whereby a deafblind person will follow communication by putting their hand on the throat and neck of somebody who is speaking, and that's following the vibrations caused by speech.
Just tell me a bit more about that. What actually can you tell from throat vibration? How does that actually work?
And essentially, they outstretch their arm and put their hand under the throat and chin of the speaker. And through the palm of the hand, they can feel the vibrations of speech, and it can be used in a combination with lip reading as well.
Can that actually give you precise words?
I think it can. I think it's a combination of feeling the jaw move and feeling the vibration from the vocal cords. It's not strangling the speaker, no, don't get me wrong, but it's just being able to understand communication at close proximity.
Just give us a sense of what's going to happen at the marathon, and what are you trying to achieve?
With the 250 people there, hopefully a lot of learning tomorrow, that's for sure. And I'm hoping to be part of a world record and a first. That's going to be a big achievement. But I think awareness, awareness for deafblind people, awareness for people who might not even know how to communicate with somebody who is deafblind, or might be a little bit anxious about touching somebody. Because we've all done that thing in the train station or the bus stop, seeing somebody who is blind or deafblind and not being confident to approach them. But I think we can bring some really good awareness. Hopefully we'll have achieved a lot more than just a Guinness World Record.
Has technology come up with any alternatives to manual signing?
Well, I would say some technology is very helpful for people who are deafblind, but not everybody uses the same type of technology. iPads are brilliant, providing somebody can see. There's another side to it as well, where people will struggle, and the world is becoming more reliant on technology as time goes by. Sadly, some people will be left behind because it's inaccessible. But in terms of manual communication, there's nothing like human touch and having a person to communicate with you.
Have you had situations where you've really been surprised to find that somebody actually did know the deaf-blind manual, or could communicate when you wouldn't have expected it?
Do you know what? Yes. And this happened quite recently. I went to do a school visit and a little girl came up to me and said, I can do that. And she could communicate with me absolutely fantastically, and she was as thrilled as I was because she could reach out and communicate to me, and it was incredibly impressive that she had sort of the confidence just to come up with me. She can't have been anything more than about 11 or 12. So yeah, it's brilliant. When people come up to you and they can communicate with you, it's wonderful, because all communication is good.
Just one potentially embarrassing question, because it will have to be your interpreter who gives you the information that I'm giving you. But what makes a good interpreter?
What makes a really good interpreter is somebody who asks the client, what do you want from me? What can I do? How can I help you to communicate in the best way possible? So it's really about attitude, first of all. What I find frustrating is when communication breaks down, because then you've just lost your part in the conversation, you can't follow. The interpreter is, a really important go-between, and somebody who is sort of patient and helpful and can help to make communication truly work.
Do you think you're going to hit your 250?
My fingers are crossed tight. Even though I'm doing sign language at the moment, I'm keeping my legs crossed instead. But it's a truly unique occasion, and it's a wonderful opportunity for people to learn, to spread some awareness, and to stop deafblind people becoming isolated. It's a real opportunity in the making. So I don't think you can put a price on that. Morning, this is Emma Boswell, and all the people in the crowds are gathering before me. I'm slightly nervous, and I'm just beside my stage, and it's difficult to say how many people are here today, but we're aiming for 250, and it looks pretty full to me, so I'm hopeful by the end of the count we will have got the number we need. I'm slightly nervous, but I'm sure I'll be fine once I get onto the stage.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, so working in pairs, work out who's going to be the writer, who's going to be the receiver. Okay, and what I want you to do is spell something to your partner. Choose something, whatever it is, it can be hello or how are you or whatever, and see if your partner can guess it, okay?
So I'm Richard Kramer, I'm CEO of Sense. It's fantastic to see everyone have a go, communicate, and everyone has said they're going to have a go, they're going to go home and they're going to teach their names to their loved ones and their children. So hopefully we can spread the word that people communicate in so many different ways.
X, Y, Z. Round of applause.
Well, teaching the lesson, crikey, I was nervous to begin with, but it became something of a thrill. It's absolutely brilliant. It felt wonderful. Achieving an audience of 350 people today has been brilliant, but I have every hope that next year we can perhaps double it or even more. That would be fantastic.
The record attempt there, organised by Sense and the accountancy firm Mazars. And you heard Emma Boswell there speaking through her male interpreter. We want your comments and your stories. You can call our action line for 24 hours after the programme on 0800 044 044. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or click on Contact Us on our website, from where you can also download tonight's and other previous editions of the programme. From me, Peter Wight, producer Kevin Core and the team, goodbye.
Radio with the community at heart. This is Vectis Radio, FM 104.6.
We're moving on to our next guest. Forthwith, without any delay whatsoever.
Shall we tell them who it is?
Yeah, go on in.
It's the lovely Chris Kane.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon.
It's the Insight for Wight segment of today's show.
It is.
And
what insights have you got?
We know. I got a feeling I know what you're going to mention first.
Something about writing.
Could be. Yes, definitely. I mean, I can't believe it's like a month since I was actually here talking about it before, but here we are again. Yeah. But yeah, I would very much like to give us another plug, because
please do.
It is short story writing competition time.
Yes. It is.
It has been running for about a month now, so just steadily giving it some publicity.
Right.
I've just spoken with Waterstone, so people are coming in for entry forms.
Good.
All right, so some of the forms have gone out. Have any stories come back, do we know?
I have had one story back already. Yes, yeah. There's also been interest from people on the mainland that would like to sort of take part. We're not saying no. You know, ideally, if you've got an island connection, then great. But, you know, obviously anyone that wants to take part, it can do so.
The more the merrier.
Yeah, the more the merrier. It's a Christmas writing competition, and
there is a theme, isn't there?
There is a theme. The magic of Christmas.
It could be anything, couldn't it?
It could. It doesn't need to be the title, but that's just the theme to get your thinking caps on.
Yes. It doesn't have to be, as you say, it doesn't have to be the title. And in previous years, when you've had a theme, people have been fairly inventive about how they've included that in the...
Yes. I have to say, I'm always very impressed with people that can write a story, because I can't.
Neither can I.
I can't write fiction to save me life.
Yeah. But you write books though.
But
they're self-help books, which isn't quite the same.
No, I suppose not. No, but
I love reading fiction books.
Yes. Yeah, I don't mind proofreading, but I'm not good at actual writing stories.
So people can get their forms. We've got some here at the station.
We have.
From Sight for Wight in Carisbrooke Road, isn't it?
Yes, you can come along there. You can also get them from Waterstones, as I mentioned earlier, and also Dress for Less.
Oh, yes.
Our 50/50 charity boutique at St James Street, opposite Man in the Moon.
Opposite Spoonspoons, yes, indeed.
Yes.
So you can do that, and then you've got to write how many words?
Under 12s, in fact, no, under 18s, it's up to 750 words.
Yep.
And 18 plus, between 1,500 and 2,000 words.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah.
And the winners are going to have their stories read and recorded by...
Yes, we have four celebrities this year, not three. We have four.
Who are they?
I know, drum roll. We have
go on, then.
The lovely Idana Minghella, who we all know very well.
Beautiful diction.
Superb voice as well, lovely singing voice. We've been out to some of her shows and concerts, haven't we?
She's just brilliant.
Yeah, mesmerising.
Gets inside those songs.
Yes, absolutely. Also returning this year is Melvin Hayes.
The lovely Melvin Hayes.
Yes. He was delighted to help us out again this year.
He's got a magic voice, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
To go with the magic of Christmas.
I see what you did.
Very clever, yes.
Yeah, see what you did there. We've also newcomers now. We have Kate Weston from presenter at Wave 105.
Yes, she does the travel
and stuff.
Yes, and she's got lovely diction.
She has
terrific diction.
Also, she's got a good sense of humour as well. And finally, we have Jo Brand.
Now she hasn't got a sense of humour.
No, I don't know what she does.
Jo Brand, that's quite a coup to get Jo Brand, isn't it?
That's quite a coup. We have to thank Idana for that.
Yes. Well, there we are.
Yes.
Connections within connections.
It is, yeah.
Yes, but how nice to have your story read and recorded by one of those celebrities.
Yes.
And then, after that, they'll be played out here on the radio.
They will,
we'll
yes.
be playing them out probably over the Christmas period. And just to catch up, those of you who don't win, you still get your stories recorded, though, don't you? From the
This year, if you're one of the 30 winners, all the stories are going to be recorded. Obviously not by celebrities, but volunteers or staff even, those with nice voices.
Yes, who work on the
If we're
talking
allowed
newspaper.
to, could we play those out as well?
Yes, you can.
On the radio?
Yes, you can.
Good.
Excellent.
Yes,
So-
we hope you will.
Well, we would love to.
Thank you.
So
Did
that's
you hear our literary weekend?
I didn't. Oh no, what did I? Yes, I think I might have done
you did.
actually.
You heard
Yes,
some of those plays, didn't
yes,
you?
I did. Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
It's the neck.
That's the Christmas story writing competition.
Yes.
Entry forms here at the Rectus Radio at Waterstones in Newport.
Dress for Less.
Dress for Less, and Millbrook House, which is Site for White's headquarters.
HQ.
If you're at HQ.
Can you download and print them out yourself?
Yes, on the website as well.
Right.
Yeah.
iwsb.org.uk.
Yeah, if you log into our website, the front page, there's an article there. You can just click on the link and it takes you straight there.
Excellent stuff. And there is a small fee for entry, isn't there?
Yeah, £2 for under 18s and £5 for adults.
That's good.
Excellent. And we've still got Chris in, haven't we, Chris?
We have.
Hello, yes, still here.
Now, we were talking about the writing competition, and you got the follow-up bit to that then.
Yeah, the follow-up is the awards ceremony, which is taking place on Monday, the 17th of December.
Yes.
Starts at 7 o'clock.
Yep.
And we'll be at, not here in the
Not
studio,
in the
but
studio,
here at Riverside
in the big
Centre.
room at the Riverside
The
Centre.
big room, yes. Yeah.
So it'll be nice and warm.
There'll be heat, yes. Yes, hopefully there'll be heat.
And there'll be a bar.
There'll be a bar, so you get drinks. There will also, we're going to make it more of an entertainment event
Right.
this year. So
Yeah.
we will be charging £3.
Mhm.
Right.
But obviously not for the winners, and certainly for the children and a parent, they won't be a charge, and for the winners. But anybody else who wants to come along, then it's going to be a fun evening. We're going to have a choir. We've got magic. We've got Huxley.
Oh, Huxley's great.
Yes.
Brilliant, yes.
So, and hopefully we've got a young lad who's going to sing for us by the name of Tyler Gorman.
All right.
Who does an amazing
yes.
acoustic, fantastic voice. And so fingers crossed. So it should be exciting.
Should be
And
very
there'll be the
exciting.
prize giving ceremony.
Yes, of course. There will be 30 prizes, and you lovely people will be there.
We will.
We will,
yes.
And will there be the inevitable raffle?
There will be yes, we have a
course.
good raffle. We've got some very good prizes
Good
this
for
year.
you.
Yes, so watch this space.
Okay.
Excellent stuff.
Is space a clue?
No.
Oh.
No, don't start that. We'll start talking about Island Con, and we'll never get into
Yeah,
that.
don't. Yeah, you'll never get rid of me.
No, we will get you in to talk about Island Con, because we've got, as we were saying earlier, we've got a young fan of that on a Saturday morning comes in and tells us all about how he won't tell us what he's going to dress up as.
Oh,
So, we'll find
It's a
out when
big
Island Con.
secret.
It's a big secret. But,
I see.
I'm guessing it's Doctor Who related. Well, it might not be.
It might not
Might
be.
not be. Anyway, so what was the date of the?
Monday the 17th of December, 7 o'clock start at Riverside Centre.
Excellent, and a small entry fee. Plus, you don't have to pay the entry fee if you're one of the prize winners.
If you're one of the prize winners, no
There's
charge.
car parking and
There's
everything.
car parking and everything, and so it should be fun.
Yes.
So you can get to meet us there as well. Which don't let that put you off.
No.
Though. Thank you, Chris, for coming in,
My
and
pleasure.
we'll see you again next month. And you'll have some more. And we're getting closer to Christmas every time we meet, aren't we?
Yeah,
So
we are,
I'm
yes.
sure there's some stuff going on, and of course, there will be a Christmassy theme to the ceremony as well.
Oh, yes.
because
Oh, yeah,
the
for
stories are all about Christmas. So
It certainly is, yeah.
Your support matters. We operate thanks to the support of local businesses. If you would like to advertise on Vectis Radio, FM 104.6, contact our team today. Marketing@vectisradio.fm.